We got two interesting stories this week that might not seem like science fiction when you first read them. But the first one, Schwarzschild radius, of course, the title is about a physical law which concerns black holes. And Schwarzschild is a real person, and he lived in the early part of the 20th century at the time when Einstein came up with his general theory of relativity, which hypothesized many different things. And he started looking at these equations and realized that they implied the existence of a black hole. The amazing thing about this is that while he was doing this, he was a soldier in the First World War in the trenches in France, probably, and in his spare time, he was poring over these equations and coming up with an amazing scientific result.
Well, the story is told in a very different way than most of the other more popular fictions that we've read. The narration is confusing. Who is the narrator? Is he a reliable narrator? And what is significant about the juxtaposition of World War I, a battlefront, and the idea of a black hole where no communication can escape? The soldiers and the idea of writing a story, even historically, are all combined into this idea of a scientific concept. And the writer is suggesting in part that there's a connection between the idea of a black hole or an event horizon, and that there's a parallel that we can think about very, very productively, how humans sort of enact or perform culturally a parallel to this idea of a black hole. It's really a sort of sad story, but it's also wonderful because it is about discovery and communication. So this is a story I think you're going to have to read at least twice to understand not only the plot, but also the deep themes that are lying underneath it about science and art and communication and human culture and the ways that human beings as in groups interact with each other.
The second story also has a scientific idea for its title, Heat Death in the Universe. And again, uses a very realistic situation on Earth, which is just a woman who's a housewife and mother who's trying to keep order in her house and at the same time describing the entropy of the universe, which is the orderedness of the universe, and the fact that entropy always increases, that is to say, disorder is always increasing, and that it's going to lead to, in the universe, this thing called heat death, which is in fact not the universe getting really hot and burning up, but the fact that at the end of the universe, and I'm telling you it's a long time from now, but nevertheless, as the universe expands, and if it keeps expanding, things will just get further and further apart. All the gas will be used up. There will be no more stars being formed. All of the stars will go through their lives and reach the end of their lives, which will be white dwarfs, neutron stars, black holes, all things that are not emitting radiation. And so things are going to get very cold and very dark.
And that sounds a bit depressing, but this story is very feminist in its outlook. It is suggesting that the life of this individual homemaker is about as depressing as the heat death of the universe, that her life is spiraling out of control. And what I'd like you to look at is, how is this story constructed? How does the actual way the story is told reflect its theme and its emphasis on the idea that the universe is disordered? And how does gender play into that? There are many literary references in this story. I would encourage you to look them up. We will be talking about them in the blog. But this is a very complex and sophisticated narration about a very complex and sophisticated situation, both in physics and also in Western culture.
I really like this story.